Hello. Welcome to what is our background music?
I just figured that would be really fun.
Welcome to Two Hypnotists Walk Into a Podcast. We got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about some really interesting stuff, some stuff that most people don't want to get into, and some stuff that Mr. Candell here and myself happened to really unite on a few years back. And that's really how we kind of became friends. So sit back, relax, enjoy the show. I want to introduce the one, the only Mr. Dan Candell, the anxiety relief guy.
Steve, this is shit that nobody wants to talk about, but we all have to go through. And it's interesting because you and I last on Friday we just have like a coffee clutch where we just shoot the shit for an hour.
Yep.
And you and I were talking a lot about grief, and I've had a lot of clients recently. It's weird. Do you get this, Steve? A wind blows and all the same type of clients come into your practice?
Yeah.
That's seemed to happen to me over the past couple of weeks with grief. And it seems like almost every client I've been working with has somebody that is actively dying in their life or somebody that just died.
It's crazy. It seems to be all over the place. It just lost. My mom's Sunday school teacher just passed away a couple of weeks ago. I've known her since I was 5 years old. I've had other friends pass away over the past few weeks. Another friend's best friend just passed away a couple of weeks ago. And of course, as we get older, we have a tendency to experience more and more of that. So,
right.
Yeah.
And I had a client recently, and he's actually last Thursday I had a client, and he said, Dan, is it weird that he's like a family member of mine is dying, and he said, I'm upset, but I'm not upset where I'm like bawling my eyes out. And he said, is that normal? And is that okay? And I'm like,
what is normal?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, like everybody grieves differently. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, don't let somebody tell you that you should be more upset about this, because a lot of people, Steve, equate, I find a lot of people think that the more stressed out or the more anxious or the more upset they are about something, it means the more they care about it.
Right. Not true.
Not true at all. No, not true at all. In fact, the more people we lose, sometimes every death, every loss is different. It's just sometimes the more people we lose, the more we get used to dealing with it.
Right. Yeah. I've been really very fortunate in my life. I've only had 2 major deaths that have impacted me. I've lost several friends along the way, and I felt sad for them, and I was upset. Some of them I cried for with friends and things like that. Some I didn't. It doesn't mean I didn't miss them though.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I don't miss them in my life today. But there were 2 that, like my grandmother, she passed away the first day of my freshman year of high school that morning. And of course, my dad passed away just less than 3 years ago. And again, that's how we connected, really. And because both of us went through the same kind of experience a few years ago.
We did. In fact, August 1st, and the day we're recording this is August 3rd. August 1st was my dad's 3-year anniversary that he passed.
Right.
And I don't post a lot about it. Even when my dad passed, I put a post out there that he would, just so our family and our friends could see it. But at the same time, it's like, that's my journey, but that's how I handle it. I have other family members that they post about it so that they can just remind other family members and friends, just to keep them in their thoughts. And oh my God, you know what? Oh crap. I totally just realized today was my dad's mass at church.
What? Okay.
Whoops. My aunt sent me the information, and I'm like, I will be there. And I woke up this morning like, I feel like I have something to do.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of it's interesting how it kind of sneaks up sometimes.
Yeah.
And it can come out of just because a date pops up. that has some correlation to our connection with that person, or seeing something out in the world, or even in your house, where that brings back just a little bit of a memory, or brings up that little bit of feeling of like, okay, I really feel a presence here now too. So
And it's so weird. Last year, on August 1st, I'm going through my day, and to me, it was just August 1st.
mhm,
And I felt this heaviness, though, like all day
right.
long. I just felt this heaviness. And I'm like, why do I feel like this? Like, what's going on in my life that's causing me to feel this way? I feel like down in the dumps. I just feel like heavy. And then I saw my aunt had posted about those last year or 2 years that my dad passed. I'm like, oh my God, that's why.
Yeah.
And sometimes we don't even realize, but our nervous system does.
Hmm.
Uh, our subconscious mind does. Our body remembers.
Yeah.
Um, what are some things, Steve, if we could move into like the advice portion?
Yeah.
Um, what are some things that you might have done to deal with grief, or what are some things that you would tell a client that was dealing with grief, whether they're getting ready to experience a loss, or they had a loss, or they're having difficulty processing a loss? What are some things you would tell people?
Well, I can tell you what I did. The afternoon my dad passed away, I went to the gym. Within 2 or 3 hours, I was in the gym, and going in there and just connecting with myself, my body, the moment, being present, uh, and kind of stepping back from it all for a couple minutes, because I think I was still a little bit of a shock as well,
Yeah.
because I remember I was at my parents' house. My mom came down and said, "I think you need to come upstairs." My dad was his breathing was rather labored, and very fortunate that our immediate family was in the room when he passed away. So I was really blessed to have that, and have the time that we had ahead of time to be able to spend with him, and kind of get to know and get to really connect with him in a way that we had not ever connected before. But meditation, a huge part of my healing was just sitting, and I practice Vipassana. And I don't know if you're familiar with Vipassana. For those of you who aren't, it means to see things as they are.
Yeah.
And the meditation itself is very simple. You sit, you focus on your breathing, you just push everything else aside. And one thing I realized, that going through that meditation, the one thing you really can't push aside is grief. It's
Right.
because the only way to get to the other side of grief is to go through grief. And whether that means sitting and sobbing for hours on end, or going and staring at the lake, whatever it is that you need to do to connect with that, and just be with it and sit through it, dealing with your anger, dealing with the fact that the loss is there, and there's this big hole in your life. But you can't, it's one of those things you can't push away. In my meditations, I can push damn near anything else away. Just go away. Not right now. I don't want to hear you. I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to feel that. Just move on. Grief comes up, though. I sat with it, and just allowed it allowed it to move through me, so I could get through it. So don't push it down.
The
What
more we
whatever.
push, the more we push it down, the worse it's going to come out in other ways.
Yes.
And that's where it
Behavioral.
starts to be, yeah. Even physical pain, it
Yep.
can come out as physical pain,
Yeah.
and physical symptoms. There is, you said you went to the gym. Um, uh, the my dad, he was checked into he checked himself into a hospice facility, and they thought he was going to be there for like 3 or 4 weeks. He was there for 4 days.
Mm,
And one of the ways that I dealt with it, I grieved his loss before he passed,
gotcha.
and or at least I feel I did.
Right.
My therapist might tell you different, but but I I feel like I made peace with it. And one of the ways I made peace with it was I did not want to be surprised at all
Mm,
about the active dying process. And if you're with a family member or with someone as they're actively dying, it can be very triggering, especially if you don't know what's happening.
mhm,
And if you don't know, you might think that person is suffering or they're in pain. But what happens for most people is they're actually heading towards peace. And so one of the things I started doing about 3 months before my dad really started declining because he had stage 4 lung cancer, I researched hospice and hospice nurses, and I read the book 5 Regrets of the Dying. I followed a hospice nurse, Julie, on TikTok, and some people in our profession. I believe her name is Angie Kirshner. She was a hospice nurse, and so I talked to a lot of people about what happens in the active dying process, and about the rally. And like a few days before a person will die, anywhere between like 1 day to a week before they die, sometimes they'll rally, and where they'll have this burst of energy.
Right.
I did a lot of research into like the death rattle and little things that happen. And one of the things that one of the hospice nurses said to me, he was checked in on a Friday. She said to me, she called me, I slept over with him. They brought me a cot and I slept over with him. And they only allowed a couple of people in the room at the time. And so my aunts went up to go visit him, and I left to go get some breakfast. And after my aunts left, the hospice nurse called me and she said, your dad has begun actively dying. You don't have to be here in the next hour, but he's actively dying now. And I said, okay, how can you tell? And she said, the temperature of his knees. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, when their knees get cold, it usually means they're about to die.
Really?
And yeah, that's again, this is shit I never knew. But I'm like, okay, so this is interesting. And so for me, what really helped me go through that process, and it was Steve, I sat there by his bed and I played his favorite music. I played his favorite songs. I cried. My friends came. They brought me food. They said to him, everyone called him Butchie. They said, Butchie, we're going to take care of Dan, because my dad was my biggest fan and he was just worried to leave me alone. So all my friends they went and they told him as he was dying, they said, Butchie, he'll be okay. We're going to take care of him. And the last words my dad ever said was, I love you too. And
the last words I heard from my dad as well.
Yeah. And you know what, Steve? Most people don't get that.
Yeah.
Most people don't get that. And I think we're lucky to get that. And the words that I would say, you would say, like, don't ignore your grief. And that's not something you can push back. I say, feel, deal, heal. Feel those emotions as they come up. And they come up in the weirdest places.
No doubt. No doubt.
Did you ever
expect it?
You said you've gone to the gym. Did you ever lose your shit at the gym? Like you just start bawling your eyes out while you're working out?
I don't think I ever completely lost it, but yeah, there were several times that I kind of moved over to the corner by myself and sat there with it. Yeah. No, I had a lot of my crying happened alone. In fact, I own my dad's truck now. Actually, I never drove the thing while he was alive. And so it was a thing to be able to take it in and be able to and drive it and sit in that seat that only he sat in. And that's brought it up quite often for me.
Yeah.
But my dad was a fireman for 34 years. So, I see fire trucks on occasion, like, it just brings that up for me. I had, in fact, the Hypnotists that we met at a couple of years ago, I rode my motorcycle out, and I was going across on the first day. I left Tennessee and I was going across Arkansas, and I see this fire truck, and it was one of the big pumper trucks, one of the, big trucks. And, you rarely see them out on the interstate unless they just purchase them and they're moving them from where they bought them to their new house or whatever. But I'm riding by and I'm like, that's a cool. Got my this is my first real trip I was taking after that, because it would have been about 9 months, but I really still hadn't fully come out of it. This was kind of my Phoenix Rising trip. But I was coming past this fire truck, and the fireman waved at me. which I thought, that's pretty cool. This guy just waved at me. I've passed, I don't know how many cars since I've left Nashville. I'm 300 miles into this trip, and this one person waves at me as I'm passing this fire truck. I thought that was kind of cool, kind of made me a little sad, because it just brought up the connection. I rode a little farther down the road, and I stopped to get gas or eat a snack or take a bio break or whatever I was doing, but I was off the road long enough that fire truck had passed me. I got back on the interstate, and I pass it again.
And it's the same one.
Same truck. Now, this time, though, the guy put his window down and waves at me, got his arm hanging out as I'm passing them. And that really kind of hit me. I'm starting to cry a little bit now. I'm driving down the road like, all right, God, this is really odd that I'm even seeing this fire truck twice on the interstate. Went down the road for a while. Again, another stop for a few minutes, whatever it was, back on the highway. Passed them this time, but this time they flipped on their lights. They flipped on their siren. Every guy in the truck was waving at me. I lost my shit.
I would have too.
I could barely see the road. I'm starting to tear up right now. I could barely see the road from crying. But it was just such a touching moment that I'm like, okay, my dad, he's here. He's with me on this, because that shit doesn't happen. I've ridden 94,000 miles on my motorcycle, and that is the only time that's ever happened.
And those are the times where it's like, give yourself grace. Let yourself, and there's a Mel Robbins book out called Let Them and the Let Them theory. And I think part of the Let Them theory is also let yourself, and like let yourself have these moments and these experiences. And you said you went to the gym after your dad passed. I went out for ice cream.
Yeah.
And my we went to the funeral home to get everything ready, and I had all his pictures printed for like the picture boards and everything like that. And one of my friends called me and she said, "Where are you doing?" I'm like, "You shut up." You know what I'm doing. And she's like, "Let's go for ice cream." And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, my dad just died. I'm not going to go out for ice cream. She goes, "Let's go for ice cream." I said, "You know what? I need to go out for ice cream."
Yeah.
And we went out for ice cream. And so it's just like let yourself still, give yourself time and space. And Steve, I was telling you,
you're not the one who passed away, too.
Right, exactly. Yeah, your life can't stop.
Yeah.
The world keeps spinning. Also, when you take and yes, death and loss and grieving and mourning, it can be such a painful thing, but it can be such an enlightening thing and an eye-opening thing too, if you let it.
Right. It was really life affirming for me,
Same
because
here.
it gave me the chance to really look at my dad and who he was. And of course, again, being a firefighter for 34 years, he touched so many lives over the years. And probably the one thing, well, I'm not going to say one thing, one of the things that I really, really respected about him was the fact that he did that. And having everybody come up and say how amazing he was and how he changed their lives or saved their lives on some occasions.
Yeah.
It just gave me more reason to want to be a better me, to kind of live up to, somebody who I'm standing on the shoulder of a giant right now. I want to live up to as much of that as possible, because I would love to have that kind of funeral. When everybody comes up and goes, "Yeah, Steve changed my life. He saved my life." We had an amazing procession. We left the funeral home, and it was about 6 miles maybe from the funeral home to the church where we had the service.
Sure.
And every single fire department in the area showed up and had fire trucks lined up along the procession route. Full dress, lights on, salute. It was, and he was a veteran as well, so he got the full send out with that.
Awesome.
It was it was a Hollywood funeral, really. I mean, it was amazing the things that unfolded for that. But it just gave me more reason to want to be a better me too.
And I think that's people can get lost in grief, and they can get lost in loss, and that can sometimes be very defining, where people get lost in it. And with the clients, I've had a lot of, because when people start working with me, they also get like my personal WhatsApp number, and I don't give them my cell phone number because I still need some boundaries, but, but I give them my WhatsApp because also, like, same as you, we both work with people all around the world.
Yep.
And it's not always practical for people to text. And also WhatsApp is private. So I got like 3 different WhatsApps this week from clients. Like, someone really close to me is dying, and the last time this happened, I just like lost my shit, and it was very triggering. And I'm like, but this is different. Every loss that you have is different. And remember, this can be a time of discovery, not a time of you're losing this person, but you don't have to lose a part of yourself. You can rediscover a part of yourself in this. Yeah. You just want to be open to it. And that's where
this doesn't have to just be about death either.
Right.
You know, if you just lost a major relationship, you know, or lost a career, you know, something that you've been so invested in that's been a huge part of your life, that's still grieving that's going on there. So,
absolutely.
You know, make sure that you're reaching out to somebody. I think it's really important to have somebody to talk to as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to process it alone.
Yeah.
And you want to have somebody who's been through it, but also someone who's kind of removed. So that's why you might want to consult one of us.
Right.
Not always go to a family member, because a family member, keep in mind, they're going to be from that fresh perspective too, and they might be stuck in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm really happy I have a good therapist, because I remember calling my therapist, Steve, and this is about 6 months after my dad died. And I was like, I think I'm bipolar. And she's like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I feel like I'm like manic, and then I have these lows. Like, I'll go through like 3 days where I'm just getting a bunch of shit done. I'm getting work done. I feel on top of the world, like, woohoo! And then I crash. And like for a day, I'll be just a puddle. And she's like, Dan, you're not bipolar. She said, you are dealing with a delayed grief. Shut up, Steve. If you're listening to this, Steve, just with his fingers, a little bit. But this is one of the problems with the therapy world. If I didn't have a good therapist and I told her I think I'm bipolar,
yeah,
a lot of therapists, and a lot of my friends are therapists, and they will even agree with this. And we've talked about this before, where they'll say, Dan, you have to be careful, and tell your clients to be careful, because some therapists will go to a weekend training about ADD or ADHD or neurodivergence or bipolar. And then their entire caseload will all have bipolar, and they'll be treated as such and have medications for that, or PTSD. And then they'll start prescribing. Right. And so that's where, like, I was super happy I had a good therapist going through it. And also having good friends like Steve, like my friend Mike, like my friend Scott, and we're going through it together.
Yeah.
The best metaphor someone gave me was that grief is like a washing machine filled with all different colors of clothes that you filled with too much soap, and it can come bursting out at any time. But every time it comes bursting out, you have a great opportunity to sit there and learn how to fold the clothes differently, so it's not as big, and so the burst isn't as big each and every time. And also, we're not supposed to be good at grief. We're supposed to suck at it. Because it's not something that happens.
I did great then.
We're not like wired for that. And so it's okay if you suck at grieving. Mm-hmm. But again, like Steve said, that's why you talk to somebody. That's why you go to a professional and work it through, so you don't get lost in it.
I had my coach. I had a couple of close friends, but you know, it's interesting when somebody passes, everybody jumps up and says, you know, I'm here for you. Let me know when you need my help. And then 48 hours later, you don't hear from them again for, 2 years.
Until someone else dies.
until somebody else dies. So, you have to be proactive in finding somebody to spend some time with that can really help you too. I'm not saying you definitely need to come to see one of us. I would recommend it because we're both pretty amazing.
And we're both pretty experienced at dealing with this stuff.
And extremely humble when we work. So, one of my best qualities. But no, it really is important to have somebody to talk to. My coach really helped me through a lot of things. And listen to your gut, listen to your intuition. When it tells you to take some time off, take some time off, and sit with it. When it says it's time to go. I was very fortunate. My dad and I, well, I say I'm very fortunate for 50 plus years. I was kind of afraid of my dad. Okay. Because there was a lot of anger underlying a lot of things when I was growing up. And that's just kind of how I grew up with him. So I was always kind of walking on eggshells around him my entire life. But I woke up one Monday it was February, 3.5 years ago. And I got this feeling like I need to go clear everything with my dad. I don't know why. I don't know what, but all these 50 plus years of all this shit that I've held back, I just realized that I've got to go talk to him. And I talked to my coach that day, and he's like, well, get up there. I'm like, well, I've got clients all day today. I can't just walk away from my clients. I've got some responsibilities here, but tomorrow I'm free. And I decided I'm going to ride my bike up. So I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm coming up. I'm going to talk to Dad. Here's what I'm doing. And she's like, be careful. Because we never knew what was going to set him up sometimes. So it was, I went up and I get there and he knew I was kind of coming up for lunch. And that's where we went immediately. Like, so I'm just sitting here stewing at lunch. Like, I got to get this stuff out of me. Because I cried all the way up there. It was like an emotional 4-year-old on my motorcycle going to Kentucky. And I got there. We went to lunch and we came back to the house. My mom's like, well, I'm going to go back here. And I knew that was my cue. And I took my dad outside and we had a conversation that was probably the first time my dad had actually ever really heard me. And we cleared a lot of things out right then. And that was about 9 months before he passed away. So listen to your intuition.
And Steve, you also had built up so much skills and abilities that allowed you to do that, where if you did it 10 years ago, it might not have worked out the same way.
No, probably not. Probably not, because you're right. I have spent a lot of time really learning how to connect with people and how to communicate. That's where subtle communication came from. That's how conversational alchemy has developed. Just because of working with so many people over the years. But yeah, I don't know that it would have been the same. It certainly would have been the same 20 years ago. It would have been probably a fist fight.
I want to ask you a question about kind of conversational alchemy and some of the work that you do, because we work similar but different.
Yep.
And I think you are really, really good at mind fucking people.
I've heard that.
And you're really good at reading people. When you're in family situations like that, do you turn it off? Can you turn it off? Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I don't, I learned a long time ago, it's better to not use that stuff with friends and family or anybody really, unless they're buying into it.
Right.
If they're not there for a specific reason, I'm not gonna do it, because number one, they don't appreciate it.
Yeah, they're not your clients.
They're not my clients, and they're not looking for my help. When somebody wants my help, I help. Unless like at the gym, I see people doing stupid stuff all the time. I'm not going to go over and give them advice. It's not my place, because they don't appreciate it. The ones who come over go, hey, what are you doing there? That's when we can have a conversation.
Yeah.
But no, with friends and family, man, I say that, but the problem, I don't introduce my work, but it's hard not to see the unconscious communication that's going on. I just hold back and not bring it up.
Yeah.
because it's better not to start the battle. Sometimes it's just not worth it. Because I see a lot of bullshit in people. I see a lot of bullshit in everybody.
And the more I learn about subtle communication and behaviorism and really also manipulation,
Mm-hmm.
the more insecurities you see in people, but also the thing about this type of behavioral protocols and this type of communication, it's not always 100%. Like
Mm.
I have a twitch because my contacts are dry. Like,
Right.
like I'm fucking tired. Like,
Well, yeah, it's important to stack the things that you see before you decide you're going to attack something.
right.
Uh, yeah, it may not mean what you think it means.
I want to tell a funny story about my dad though. So I mentioned he rallied about 4 days before he died. He rallied, and one of my best friends, she's also my attorney, and
Mhm.
I dedicated my first book to her. And I said in the book, it says, Deb, you are the one and only, because she was one of my clients at one time. And she is the only person that I broke that boundary with. And she became one of my best friends.
Mm.
And but she was so persistent. She's like, but with her, it started out like talk about manipulation. She started off like during our sessions, she found out what my favorite coffee shop was. So every session, she'd bring me my favorite coffee. And then she'd bring me a gift card and she'd tell me, oh, my daughter works at your favorite coffee shop. So she gave me this baked good to give to you. So little. And as I look back at now, I'm like, oh my God. But I didn't see it. I didn't see it then. And she's like, oh, have you ever gone to this sushi restaurant? And I'm like, no. And she said, we should go. I'm like, listen, that's where I draw the line. I don't go out with my clients. And so after about like 3 or 4 months of her like asking me to go out and have a drink with her, and oh, you'd be so much fun, I'm like, no. So finally, one session, she stands up, she throws everything down. She's like, I'm done. I'm like, what? She's like, I'm not your client anymore. I'm sick and tired of this. I told you so many times I wanted to hang out with you. And now I don't know if you think something's wrong with me. And blah, blah. She just went on this tangent. I'm like, fine. I'll go out with you. So then we end up becoming like best friends. And she's about 18 years older than I am. But a lot of my friends are older than I am. And so a few days before my dad died, he wasn't eating. He wasn't really getting up a lot. So she had said to me, Dan, I'm going to go to our favorite restaurant and I'm going to bring you, I love their veal bolognese and they had the best coconut cream pie. And she's like, I'm going to bring you that. And she said, do you want me to get anything for your dad? I said, give him some coconut cream pie. And if he wants some of my pasta, I'll split it with him because he hasn't been eating. So she comes over, she brings us food. And my dad looks over, he goes, what do you got? I goes, oh, it's some pasta. He goes, oh, you gonna eat all that? I'm like, no. And like, when someone's dying next to you and they say, like, you're gonna eat all that? You're like, no, here, take it.
Eat.
So he ate the veal bolognese and he's eating the coconut cream pie and he loved this coconut cream pie. He's like, oh my God, this is so good. And he gets up and he starts fixing the drapes and he starts walking around the house. And my attorney, she said, Butch, are you sure you're dying? She's like, because so the next day he went to the hospice facility and then 3 days after that he died. The last thing he ever ate though was that damn coconut cream pie. So the joke is my attorney killed my dad with coconut cream pie. And we're regulars at that restaurant. We told the restaurant, so they took it off the menu because it's now killer coconut cream pie.
That's hilarious.
So everybody knows my attorney killed my dad with coconut cream pie, but he would appreciate that humor.
Right.
And that's the thing. When you're going through grief, use humor and don't be afraid to have dark humor.
Yeah.
Because whoever passed wouldn't want you being sitting there being a blob of mush for the rest of your life.
I would hope not. If not, then who are you grieving?
Steve, if I die, I give you 5 days and you got to get your shit back together.
It's hilarious.
So, I hope this is helpful to people listening, and our esteemed listener Jackie, she left a nice, really touching, long comment about a loss that she had gone through. Dan Goyette, who is also a fellow colleague, said, yeah, when we were talking about the knees are cold, it's because the blood goes to the core, and that makes sense. If you feel comfortable and you are dealing with grief, or you even know somebody that's about to pass, do as much research as you can, just so these things don't take you by surprise.
Yeah, especially if you're going to watch somebody pass away. It's an interesting experience.
Yeah.
And I think it's for me, it was quite humbling because my dad was only 74. How old was your dad when he passed?
My dad was also 74.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is way too young.
Yeah.
My dad had a very rare form of cancer that became very aggressive, I think, because of a medication they gave them. I think it was like pouring gasoline on a fire.
Yeah.
And the last couple of months is when he really, really kind of went downhill. But we were very fortunate. He very much like your dad. My dad didn't experience a whole lot until the last 2 weeks, and then really just the last 3 or 4 days.
Yeah.
It was. But yeah, I still feel very fortunate to have been there, to sit there, to have conversations with him, and to help him when he needed my help. And it's one thing I really feel blessed, because the way you and I both work is that we have the ability to travel and work remotely and be there with the people that we want to when we need to. And that was such a blessing.
Steve, I blame my dad for the reason why my career blew up the way it did. Because I started doing a lot of groups because I was his caretaker.
Yeah.
And I couldn't see 8, 9, 10 clients a day and do stage hypnosis shows and travel and do this and do this and do this. So, and still be there in the capacity I wanted to be there for him. So I said, hey, do you mind if I still work maybe like 5 or 6 hours a week, but I can do it from here. I'll do mostly virtual sessions, and then I'll put together a group. And Steve, I launched my first group, and I think I charged $3,500 for my group. Overnight, I got 20 people in my group at $3,500.
Right.
And about 80% of the people who joined 3 years ago, when my dad was going through this, they're still with me.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people, they got to know my dad because he'd be sitting in the recliner next to me as I'm doing the group session. And I said, oh, Dad is here. I said, wave to the camera, Dad. So, and that's really the only capacity I hypnotize my family, is I would do these group sessions and my dad would be there like, like during the group sessions, like, you okay? He's like, yeah. It's like, your voice is just so soothing. I'm like, thanks, Dad.
Love it.
But yeah, and also this is like 50-50. I have a lot of people, and I know you got that like amazing sign or affirmation of the fire trucks after your dad passed when you were on your bike. I had a lot of similar experiences of just weird things happening that could have only been my dad.
Yeah.
And but I hear a lot of people and they're like, I didn't get that. And and it's like, they're not always going to be that overt. Like, signs aren't going to be always that in your face.
Yeah.
And also keep in mind, like, this is also a time for you to define or redefine what you believe happens afterwards. And that was a big part for my dad, is we kind of went deep into, okay, what's going to happen? And like now he knows the secret.
Right.
You know, and your dad does too. Like he knows the secret. And so I hope this helps people that are
it's helping me. I hope it helps everybody else. It's good having conversations anyway. But my dad, we just the week before he passed away, we were sitting in the living room, and I said, "Is there anything you wish you had done that you didn't get to do?" And he said, "No." He said, "I'm really happy with the life that I lived."
Awesome.
He said, I've got some regrets from, but I grew out of them, I hope. And he did, for the most part, leave a lot of the childish anger behind. Still carried some with it. Don't get me wrong. It was still kind of under there, but yeah, it was really great to hear that he had no regrets and that he was completely okay.
Yeah.
With moving on. And, it gave me a lot of peace too, knowing that because I don't think he was ever even afraid. To my knowledge, I never saw him afraid. I don't know that I ever saw the man afraid, period. Anyway,
yeah.
My dad would stand up to a honey badger. He didn't give a shit.
Your dad and my dad were very similar in that way, because my dad, he went out the way he wanted to go out, and he went out on his own accord. And at his funeral, we played My Way. And we were all like, he went out his way.
Yeah.
And he wasn't afraid. And the people ask me, because I wasn't there when my dad died, when he took his last breath, because he was holding on. And they and sorry, we should have said trigger warning at the beginning of this episode. Trigger warning. We're talking
we said before
this. So they rolled him on his side, and my dad, he should have died about 2 days before he did, because one of the doctors, she came in, she left her shift on Saturday, she came back on Sunday night, and she goes, "Oh, are you here to get your dad's things?" He said, "What are you talking about?" She's like, "Well, we can pack up his stuff." I'm like, "Why?" She goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "My dad's still alive." And she goes, "He is?" I said, "Yeah." She goes, "He should have died 2 days ago." I'm like, my dad is a medical marvel. Like the doctors 4 years before that told him he only had 2 years left to live, which I don't know why a doctor would tell somebody that, like, you only have 2 years left. Like, and so for my dad, it started like this ticking time bomb. And like, just because your doctor says this does not mean 2 years from that doctor's appointment, you're going to drop dead. I'm like, let's have fun, cupcake. And that's how I talked to my dad.
Yeah. My dad passed away almost to the day that my doctor said 90 days.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's, it just boggles my mind. And I guess they've seen so many cases they can tell, but at the same time, like there's no one that can call your death date exactly.
Pretty damn close.
That's weird. That's weird.
I was oddly impressed. Sadly impressed, honestly.
When my dad finally passed, though, they turned him on his side, and I said, and I knew where they turned him. His he had like pain in his arm, but he was on so much morphine, like he didn't feel anything, but he might have felt a little bit of discomfort. And they said sometimes when we turn them, they'll pass soon after. And I said to my dad, I said, "Dad, I've been here with you for the past 3 days." I said, "And I need to know that you're going to do what you got to do." And I said, "I'm going to go. I'll see you tomorrow. But I got to go so you can do what you got to do." And that was the last time I saw my dad alive. And I left, and I knew that he was going to pass. And I said, I can't be here when that happens. And I got the call at exactly 6 o'clock that next morning. I was there by 6:20, and I sat with him, and they opened the window, and so everything that needs to get out can get out. And I was overlooking this beautiful pond, and it was a very picturesque, peaceful moment. My husband went with me, and it was just me, my husband, and my dad. And it was just a very peaceful, but also unsettling moment at the same time.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it was really interesting when my dad passed. It was kind of a relief,
yeah.
because though he didn't complain and he never mentioned it very often, we know he was in pain. But then it was odd because then we got the funeral home coming in and they're taking the body away, and it's just at that point it was just all this administrative stuff, and it just became really odd.
It's a business transaction
Yeah,
almost.
really. And they were kind. They were great people who folks came out and took him. But it was just such a strange transition. It's like the channel just changed all of a sudden.
Yeah. Yeah.
And now we're on to something completely different, which is great for Monty Python, but it wasn't that day.
No, and then a different part of you has to kick in then, where it's almost like you now have to be transactional, because if certain decisions weren't made, you have to make those decisions.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, he was, like I said, he was really with us until several days beforehand. So all the decisions were really made already, so we just kind of had to sit back and kind of watch it all happen and unfold. Yeah. And there were a lot of people involved in my dad's, funeral too, because it took a lot of people to get all that stuff together and make that happen. Yeah, because it was huge. It's quite impressive.
And the one thing too, when people are transitioning, or when people are dying, for the people around them, it can be really difficult because you feel like you don't know when it's going to happen, and you just kind of feel this great sense of unknown, and you can feel a little stuck, and you just don't know when it's going to happen. And that can be triggering for a lot of people too. And it can be, because Steve, you had said you felt a great sense of peace afterwards, and same here. I totally get it. And my dad, he had a lot of health complications like the last 10 years of his life. And I remember thinking on several occasions, will you just die already?
Mm.
And at first I felt so guilty for saying or even thinking that, but I didn't mean it like it came out. And I didn't say that to him. Those were thoughts. I'm like, I'm just thinking, I don't want you to suffer anymore. I don't want you to keep going through this. And I'm like, just something's going to happen. But every time, and like I said, for almost a decade, every time he'd spiral down to health, he'd spiral back up. He was like this medical marvel. Like I must have called my friends probably about 50 or 60 times over 10 years. Like, my dad is dying. My dad, and they're like, yeah, okay. After a while,
There he is.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, he'll pop back tomorrow, and he did. So,
right.
I
remember walking in my dad's bedroom when he was there the morning he passed away, and I said, "It's okay."
Yeah.
I said, "You can go. We got this." And I said, "I love you." And he couldn't. He was on so much morphine he couldn't speak. But I knew what he said.
Yeah.
In his struggled voice. But yeah, we have to let him go. And by the way, for those of you who are watching this, I'm just trying to figure this shit out myself too. So, don't think we have all the answers, but we've seen a lot of this over the years and worked with clients over the years. So we've got tools that help us handle things better than we would have otherwise. So, if you feel lost, just reach out to somebody, reach out to us. We're not hard to find.
Yeah. We're all
hard to get in touch with, but I'm not hard to find.
Yeah. So I know this was more of a heavy episode, and not all episodes are going to be like this. This is something that it's top of mind for both Steve and I.
Yeah.
And we've both been getting a lot of people reaching out to us with, and we've also had a lot of losses in our profession over the past month. We've had several people pass who are colleagues of ours.
Yeah.
and it's weird. And sometimes in those situations, you don't get closure because you can't attend the services.
Right.
You're as close as you are to people, you're also very distant because we have colleagues that are all around the world. And so that can be difficult sometimes as well. Steve, just to close us out, where can people find you?
Right here. For now. In a few minutes, I'll be somewhere else. NashvilleHypnosis.com is the best way. There's a hub there. You can check out my educational stuff and trainings if you're interested. If you're really interested, I have one coming up in October. But yeah, Nashville Hypnosis, SteveRoehm.com. Yeah.
And you work with people all around the world, so they don't have to be in Nashville to work with you.
I'm only remote. So I don't have an office. I know you have an office where you are, but I haven't had an office now in 8.5 years. So I do work with a handful of people who are nearby, but I'm not inexpensive, and they have to pay for my hourly rate to travel too. So it's worth it if you want me there. But otherwise, yeah. And you are?
I'm in Marlborough, Massachusetts, but I would say about 90% of the clients I see, 80% I would say are online, and I mostly do groups as well. I still do probably about a dozen one-to-one sessions a week instead of doing 8 or 9 a day.
Right.
And Monday, August 4th, I'm actually doing a 3-part shadow integration workshop all in integrating the Jungian shadow and using hypnosis to help you with that. So
yes, I would highly recommend that. I wish I was available and I could go.
It is.
You have recordings though, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. Yep. You can get the replays afterwards. And this one's only $100, $97.
Well,
So that's, I love doing these workshops. I love doing groups, and you can go to dancandell.com and find out more about all the things that I do. Awesome. Steve and I are going to keep doing these. So
yeah, this is kind of fun.
Yeah.
Next one will be more fun.
Today wasn't, but next one will be. So we're going to also be posting these on a podcast app after we get about 5 or 10 of them in the can, so people can go listen to them on podcast apps. So whether you're watching us on social media, on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram, or any place else, make sure you rate, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps us help you. From the bottom of my heart to all of yours, this is my closeout. Be well, do good, be true to who you are, and happy healing. Go ahead, Steve, take it away.
Hey, love you guys. That's all I got. Have a fantastic week.
Bye, everyone.